So let's say you want to jump into digital art. You don't want to spend a lot of money, but you want to get something that is really, really good. I've got some great deals for you today. There's two things that I would look at if I was just getting started, just looking to dive into this, and we're going to cover those. Hello, my name is Brad. I review tech for creative professionals, and the two devices that I want to talk about today that I consider to be the best deals in drawing tech are the 9th generation iPad. It's an older iPad. It's one of the ones that still has the face button on it, but currently you can find one of these for around $200, which is a really good deal. The other one that I want to highlight is the Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite 2024 edition. That is a mouthful, but it's worth keeping an eye on that entire title when you're looking for one of these. That's also retailing for around $240, $250 is what you can usually find it for. Now, before I get too deep into this, shout out to a couple things, because one, I rank all of the things I review over on my website. So if you are thinking, oh, this is a great iPad, but I want to see what else is out there, do a little more research before I jump into this, check out my website where I rank all of the things that I've reviewed. And there's obviously the reviews themselves that you could watch there. Also on my websites are my courses, where I'm currently running some discounts on there. There's Learn to Draw in 60 Days. So if you're just getting into art and want to learn the basics, every day a new class, plus lessons and homework that go along with that, so you can practice what we've learned. The next day we build upon that kind of stuff. All of that is linked down below in the description if you want to check it out. Now, there's a reason why I'm highlighting these two particular products, because you can go cheaper. For example, you could get a drawing tablet that doesn't have a screen that connects to your computer, like if you have a Windows computer or a Mac lying around that you use for other things, and you could use that, you could plug it in and you could draw. But one of the downsides, especially if you're new to art, is there's a bigger learning curve to that. For example, you're going to look at your screen and see what you're drawing, while down below you're going to have your tablet set in front of you, and you're going to have to create or get used to build up some eye-hand coordination while using one of those. And it could be a real obstacle for a lot of people. These are standalone tablets. For example, an iPad is an iPad, right? Yeah, everybody knows what that is. The S6 Lite is an Android tablet, very similar. So you have your operating system. You can use it for a lot of things other than just drawing. You can read on it, you can watch movies on it, you can play games on it. So they're all in one, but you could also get drawing apps and use a pen with it. And so you can see what you're drawing. When your pen hits the screen, it's going to leave a line exactly where you think it's going to leave a line. And so yes, even though those are more expensive than the other ones, I think if you're new and just starting out, finding an inexpensive version of one of these is just a better option. It's going to keep you more engaged and get you drawing more often. So let's take a look at the first one that I recommend, and that is the iPad. Like I said, you can find these nowadays for about $200. Now, it's important to note that these are now several years old, and that's part of the reason why they're so inexpensive. Apple has since replaced this with a 10th gen iPad about 2 years ago, and that iPad gets rid of the face button. It also moves the camera over to the other side of the iPad. It has the flat edges, so it looks like an iPad Air. It also has a newer processor, so that one's going to last a little longer, but that iPad is also more expensive. Something you also want to consider in the price here is that the Apple Pencil does not come with this. So even though the 9th gen iPad is only $200, you're going to have to spend another $80 on an Apple Pencil. It's also worth noting that the only Apple Pencil that's going to work with this, or the one you want to look for anyway, is the original Apple Pencil, the Apple Pencil 1. It's older, but it is compatible with this iPad. Now, the great news here is, even though Apple has iterated on that Pencil 2 times since then with the Apple Pencil 2 and the latest Apple Pencil Pro, the technology there, the underlying core drawing experience, is identical to that original pencil. So you get the same accuracy, you get the same pen pressure, you get the same tilt and recognition. It works super well, and it's one of the best styluses out there to draw with anywhere. And so when you add these things together, really what you're looking at is, for $280, you are getting a phenomenal drawing experience. Now, one of the drawbacks is its age. It's not going to get updates for as long as some of the other iPads. If you get a newer iPad like the 10th gen iPad, it's going to last you several years longer. The good news here is Apple has been really good about supporting older iPads. You're going to notice support start to drop off for newer features as you go. For example, you're probably not going to get some of the latest, greatest AI features that Apple's talking about. Personally, I don't care for those features, so I'm cool with that, but that might be something that you do care about. But your drawing apps are going to work for several years to come. The pencil's going to work for a long time, and you're going to get like the most important updates, like security updates and that sort of thing, for several more years into the future. And even after those updates stop, you're still going to be able to use your iPad and the drawing apps that are loaded on there. It's just that those new updates that Apple is coming up with aren't going to work on these older iPads. The other thing with the lowest end iPads is the screens are not laminated. Now, what does that mean? So on any device, whether we're talking about your phone or a screen or a monitor, there's the glass and then there's actually the screen below it. And here there is a little bit of an air gap. So you can actually see that, like when you look on an angle down at the screen, you're going to see a little bit of a gap. Now, it's not that pronounced, but as you're drawing with the pencil, that air gap's going to make more noise. People have mentioned this because Apple has sold a lot of these iPads to schools, and when you're in a room where kids are like taking notes on these iPads, the clickiness of the pencil hitting that is much louder than it is on like the newer iPads, like the Air and the Mini and the Pro. It also just doesn't look as new, even though the screen looks okay, it's fine for drawing. As far as performance goes, it's still a decent iPad. One of the great things about the iPad is many of the apps, like Apple's Notes apps or Procreate, one of the drawing apps that I like to use, are really well optimized. So even though this is the lowest powered iPad you can get right now, you're not going to see a ton of drawing lag. One thing you are going to see, and Procreate's a great example here, is in order to keep it performant, it limits the number of layers that you're allowed to use at any given time. So if you're working with a larger canvas, you're still going to get a lot of layers. You're going to get 40 layers, 60 layers, depending on your canvas size. You're still going to get a lot of layers, but if you go with a Pro or even some of the new Air or the new Mini, you're going to get hundreds and hundreds of layers. But the reason I recommend this is you're still getting great performance. You're getting that great Apple Pencil experience. You're getting an iPad that you can literally just take with you and use as a drawing tablet anywhere. It's fully featured, so it's not like you have to connect it to a computer, and you're getting it at a really good price. And that's why I think it's like one of the best values, if not the best value in drawing tech. Now, there's an Android tablet that I think is comparable to this in a lot of ways that I think is worth a shout out as well, and that is the Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite. So if you're not interested in the iPad or you're just used to the Android ecosystem, this is something that's worth taking a look at. Now, every year Samsung releases new Android tablets. So right now they're on the S10 line. That's the latest that came out. So every year they add a number to it. There was the S6, S7, S8, S9. You get the idea. So S6 harkens back to some tablets that came out like 4 years ago. That is a long time in the Android world. But something they've done with this tablet, which is really super smart, is they've kept the tablet the same, but they've upgraded the processor every so often. So when you're looking for one of these, the big thing to look for is look for the 2024 edition. If it does not say 2024 edition in the name of the product, you don't want that one. It's older, it's got an older processor. There's a lot of things that are older in this device. The screen is older, it's a 4-year-old screen on a more inexpensive device. The cameras are older. A lot of those features are older, but that processor is a mid-tier processor. And you might be tempted to go out there and say, wow, this one is only $200. I've seen refurbished versions of this tablet for $150, which seems like a really good deal, but I would be hesitant because I'd be worried that if you're getting a refurbished older model of this, it's not going to get the updates. It's going to be super slow. The 2024 edition is really what I would recommend. The other thing with this tablet that's kind of cool that is an advantage over the iPad is the S Pen is packed in the box, whereas the Apple Pencil is an extra accessory. It's $80. It's a very expensive accessory. Here you get a great pen with no wine lobble, great pressure sensitivity, great accuracy. It's right there in the box. This is a Wacom powered pen, so if you're familiar with the drawing world at all, you may have heard the name Wacom before. Usually that's synonymous with quality, and that's no different here. These pens work really well. Also, there's a lot of pens out there that you can swap this with. So if anything ever happens to your pen, you can find a replacement relatively inexpensively. Or if you just want something that weighs a little more, because this is really lightweight lightweight, smaller pen, you want something thicker, you want something that weighs more, it's easy to find those out there. I've got this stylus that works on these Galaxy Tabs. This is just, honestly, it's a thin pen, but it looks like a real pencil. It's kind of cool. There's just a lot of stuff like this out there. The Android app ecosystem has also dramatically grown over the last couple years. For example, Clip Studio Paint is a great option. Maybe not for newcomers because there's like an annual fee of like $6.50 to use that software. You can pay by the month. It's like $1 a month. For me and what I do, for how much I use it, I think that's a great deal. For you, maybe not, but there are cheaper options. HiPaint, iBez Paint X, Krita, all free, all really good drawing apps available on Android. Now, if I'm comparing the S Pen to the Apple Pencil, I still like the Apple Pencil better, but honestly, there's so little difference in terms of quality when we're talking about the pressure and the accuracy and that sort of thing, that I think both of these are really good options. Now, if you do have a little bit more money to spend in this area, where I would look on the Android side is a Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 FE. I think that's a tremendous option for a lot of people. That's going to cost significantly more. I think nowadays they're going for $450 to $500 for that, but you're going to get a much better processor, much better screen. You're going to get the same S Pen with the same drawing experience, the same app availability, but because you're getting that better processor, it's just going to last you longer. Because you're getting that better screen, it's just going to look better. But if you're really on a budget, the S6 Lite isn't a bad option. On the iPad side of things, I usually tell people the iPad Air is probably your best bet. Going with like the 10th gen iPad, I don't think like is a huge upgrade. Visually, it looks different, but it's just kind of more expensive for something very, very similar. Whereas if you jump up to an iPad Air, even if you can find an older M1 Air, you're getting an amazing processor in that thing. A new Air has an M2 processor, which is a desktop class processor. Thing is blazing fast, and that iPad, the iPad Air, is going to last you years and years and years into the future. The other big benefit there is that new iPad uses the Apple Pencil Pro. The Apple Pencil 1 charges kind of funny. You kind of stick it into the bottom of the iPad. It's awkward, but it works. It keeps it charged. But being able to snap this just to the side of the iPad is a huge upgrade, and it's just much easier to keep your pen charged when you're not using it. But those are my recommendations. What are your recommendations? Let me know down below in the comments. Thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days.